Hello GMS developers. This is the third week for the developer diary, I guess we'd call it, for me to showcase my new game. This is the first game I've worked on, and we're going to do things a little bit differently this time. I'm going to show you some of the techniques I use for building the game. This might give you some ideas on how to build your own game. Now, as I mentioned previously, this game is based on the old Atari Berserk game, and first we'll go through a quick demo. Here, we'll select a level, and you're going to move your character around here with WASD, and you're going to have the ability to shoot, pick up some food, and as soon as you go through the exit, we'll come here, let's pick up a shotgun. As we go through the exit, it's going to keep on going to new rooms. Now this room here is actually random. I've randomized about 35 different rooms at this time. So every time you go into the portal, it's going to take you to a new room. Now even though it's random, sometimes, well, quite often you'll go into the exact same room multiple times. When that happens, I make sure that it's also randomized. And I'm going to show you how I do that right now. So let's go ahead and create our room. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go to my function that allows me to change rooms, and we want to go to the demo room. Every time we exit, I want to go to the demo room so we can show you exactly what's going on. So here's the demo room. The only thing in here is this little E, and I'll explain that in a moment. So first thing I want to do is I want to drop in the player 1, which I like to call the hero. So here's the hero, and also we need an exit. So I'm going to pop the exit right here. We're going to take this, and this E is going to be fascinating because this E here represents an enemy that's going to appear on the screen. Now there's a reason why it's a red E, and I'll get to that in a few moments. So as soon as I get in my demo room, there's my exit down here, and there's my mob right up here who became an enemy. Great. Now this E actually says that this will automatically change into a monster right away. So it's actually something I like to call a marker. So I've created these object markers here, and each object represents a monster. The monster, which monster gets created, is actually random. But if I'm going to put 5 monsters here, then it will automatically turn into 5 monsters. So it's pretty self-explanatory. This allows me to create the room and just put the monsters anywhere. Which monsters appear is determined by a separate script, which I have later based on which level you're on. So if you're on level 1, you're going to get these invader type enemies, and when you get to around level 10 or 11, you're going to get different kinds of enemies that will appear also. That's nice and dandy, but what we really need is we need some walls. So we're going to create walls here. I have these objects here, which are wall objects, and they are they have a parent object called a parent wall, and this is a pretty simple stuff. You can put a couple blocks here and things of that nature. Now the monsters are already designed to avoid walls or bounce back and go the other direction when the walls are placed. So that's not a problem at all. Now also you notice here that I can put these walls outside the border of the game itself. And the reason why that's okay is because the view of what people see is within this grid. I'm going to scroll out. So anything you see in the grid is what they see. Anything outside the grid they won't see. So even though a piece of this is showing like an iceberg, that's perfectly fine. So I can easily go outside the wall anytime I want. I'm not using any viewports or anything like that. I just have one room, and that room is a specific size, and that way I can just create it like that. And there you can see, I'll move this up a little bit, you can see what it looks like here when I go to the next screen. There, as I said, there's some iceberg showing here, and don't worry about this background here. The background is what's showing that bottom part. But as you can see, we have these pieces here exactly the way I want it to look like. And the viewer, the player, isn't going to know any difference that there's a big piece missing, because they're never going to go outside the view of this screen, which works out great. Now that I have that, we're going to go ahead and build some more. Now you notice I used walls that look like 16. They are 16 by 16 blocks, and the reason I did that is because it makes it easier to line everything up correctly. And you'll notice sometimes it gets a little bit off here because that's snapped to the grid. So I'll go ahead and I'll highlight that all, and then I'll move it with the control arrows to make sure I'm all lined up correctly. And there we go. And now we have a room, and this room is a pretty simple room with 5 monsters, some walls here. And then every time I go to the exit, it should refresh this screen. And you'll notice that these mobs here will change every time I exit and go back to the screen. Now the reason why I'm here, by the way, if you're wondering, is because this is actually the start screen where the players will actually start. They're going to choose one of these characters up here. So I send them to room number, the first room, which is here, and watch these monsters as I go through the exit. They're going to respawn, and they're going to change to potentially different monsters because I have a script to determine what those red E's are going to turn into. Now let's say that, you know, these monsters are great, but they're always going to be in the same spot, which is something that I haven't really fixed yet, but that's okay because then I don't have to worry about collision and things like that. But I really want the possibility of more monsters or less monsters. So I've created this block here called the E25 block. These are yellow because there is a 25% chance that it will turn into a monster. These red ones have a 100% chance they'll turn into a mob. I like to call them mobs rather than monsters. And these blue ones are E50s, which have a 50% chance to turn into a monster. So this allows me to put in monsters, and sometimes I want a lot of monsters, sometimes I want a few monsters, sometimes I want a set amount, but this makes it feel random because if you're going to come to this room, sometimes you're going to get swarmed. Typically, you're not going to get swarmed, there's going to be a few less. So let's see what we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have 12 monsters, 10 of which are 100% red ones. And of course, we have the blue ones, which are 50%, and the yellow ones, which are 25%. So now when I start the game and I enter the level 1, look at that. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Only 7 monsters appear, and we know we have 2 guaranteed. I'm going to exit again and reload. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 monsters now. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 monsters now. That's perfect. So every time they come to this level, there's going to be a random number of monsters. A guaranteed 2. And then up to 12 because of all the randomization we put in for the 50% monsters here, the blue ones, again, and the 25% monsters, the yellow one. Now that works fantastic. But then I was thinking about, well, I can use the same key for this, the same type of logic for this exit. So I created special markers called exit markers. We'll put these around here. Three, 4, and 5 all around our hero there. And these exit markers will work the same way. At the beginning of the level, what it would do is it will randomize the number 1 through 5, and then it will determine which one to keep. If I roll 3, for example, by random, that 3 will appear as an exit, and all the other ones will do an instant destroy to destroy itself. So let's take a look. And there we are. That exit's here directly to my right. As I go through the exit, by chance it's the same one. Here, it's moved up to the top. It's moved up to the top again. I'd have to check my randomization. But it is random, 1 through 5, and one of these will always become the exit. And there we go. By complete randomization. I like to do that because when they reach this level, here's what I'll typically do. I'll put a 1 and 2 here. I'll put a 3 over here to make it easy, and then the 5 in here. So you have a 20% chance for each one. You have a 40% chance that the exit's going to appear near you, and a 60% chance that the exit is going to appear over here. 2, 4, 6 chance. So here, let's take a look. This also has a nice randomization because I want the player to sometimes feel safe and sometimes feel unsafe. So you're going to go through, and there, oh hey, now the question is, do I want to go after these monsters or not? And I want to just go ahead and move on to the next level, so I'll just take the exit right away. Once in a while, the exit will appear up here, as you can see, and well, you don't have a choice. You're going to have to fight your way to get to the exit or run through there as fast as possible, or get yourself killed. So having this has been fantastic. The only drawback is the way I've coded it is I need to absolutely have all 5 markers in here at all times. Oh, I see the problem here. I have a 1, 2, 2, 3, and 4. What I'm missing is a exit 5. There we go. Now that would actually cause an error, but the exit 5 would have tried to have appeared, but that's a different story completely. So now that we have the, oh, there's the exit 5. My bad. So now we have that. This level is looking not bad, but you know, it needs a little bit more. So what I'm going to put in is I'm going to put in some special walls here. These are moving blocks. Now you notice that the names of the blocks you might have a hard time seeing is called O wall to represent an object, underscore moving block. What I do at the parent level is I look for the word moving in the name. If moving appears in the name of the block, then I will set that block to move when it's generated. Pretty simple stuff. So if it says moving, it'll move horizontally. If it says moving vertical, it'll move vertically. And it's just like any other object that moves. There we go. It's going to move, and when it makes contact with a collision of another wall or a mob, it's automatically going to bounce and go the other way. The same is true with, let's take care of this monster here. The same is true with a hero. If it touches the hero, it's going to bounce back. This adds some different things so that it makes it harder to shoot sometimes, or maybe you want to use that as a blocking device. Regardless, it makes the level more interesting when there's moving things. And I actually ran into this issue about a few weeks ago where I had my son testing the game, and he's like, there should be some moving levels. And I said, oh, that's a great point. So I put in moving levels. Now those are actually permanent. Now I'm going to go ahead and move these blocks, because every time you come to this screen, it's going to look exactly the same. You're going to have X number of monsters, you know, up between 2 and however many. You're going to have randomized exits, and then all those blocks are going to be the same. But I created something special here, and these are called the green blocks. The names of these blocks are the, again, it's underscore green. This particular one is called O wall underscore wide 18 green. And for that, it's 18 blocks wide, and it's a green block. And here's why it's important to be called green. Let's go and put a bunch of these blocks in. Where's my block A? There we go. Block B green, block B green. And we'll put one more in the middle. Now I'd like you to pay close attention to these blocks. They are exactly like the other blocks, but during the editing I changed all the black lines to green so that I can visually tell here that they're green blocks. I also named them underscore green. Now again, pay close attention. We have 3 main blocks in the middle, and we have 4 side blocks here on the side, walls. I'm going to run the game, and let's see what happens. Okay, let's see what the room looks like. There, we have the 3 green blocks still here, but notice there's only 2 side walls. I'm going to go through the exit so it refreshes this screen. Now there's only 1. And now there's none at all on the right hand side, and the very top block is gone. See how everything starts moving around and changing? Well, that's because those green blocks here, you'll notice that they're no longer green. They're regular normal blocks. Whenever this room gets generated, anything that is a green block has a 50% chance to destroy itself. If it doesn't destroy itself, it will turn itself into a solid black block. That's very important, because now every time you come to the screen, it looks a little bit different, and I've now randomized it so that you may not realize that you're actually in the exact same room that I've already created, but now there's a 50% chance that's going to randomize every time. And we can take this to an extreme level. I'll remove this. We'll put some tall green blocks in here. Now I also have moving blocks. So these moving blocks are just like the moving blocks I showed you earlier, but they're now green, which means they have a 50% chance of disappearing completely. So you can make a fantastic little maze here. It looks different each time. And what I like to do is I like to take these exits and I'll put them over here, so there's a chance they're going to appear here. And in this case, I really want the player forced to go over from the left side over to the right side in order to get to the exit. So here's what we have. We'll put another giant block right here. And we'll take a look and see what it looks like. Now again, pay attention to what it looks like right now before the game actually runs. There, we had a couple blocks there in the middle and below, and notice they're all gone right now, which is good because that's exactly the way I want it to happen. And on the right hand side, there's the exit as we expected, and this isn't too bad of a map. There's a lot of moving blocks that will block your shot as expected, and you should probably be able to run directly to the exit if you want to. And there, it's changed again, but it's changed just enough where the player may not realize, your player probably won't realize, this is the exact same room that you're in. I'm just generating some of those walls differently. Okay, that's fantastic. And this is a basic room on how I would make things. But I want to take things up just slightly another notch. So I've added loot for people to pick up, something that the original Berserk game didn't have. So we'll go over here and we will take a look at my keys and chests. And we'll put a couple blue chests here. And we'll put a few keys here, and it is exactly what you would expect. When you start the game, or at least when you come to this room, you're going to see 2 keys, and you're going to see 2 blue chests, and you're going to see a coin for you to pick up. Now the coin here, slight story, small story, I'm pretty happy with this coin. I purchased it on the marketplace, and it made it rotate. My son, however, is not very happy with it because he says it looks too 3D, but I like it. So we can pick up these coins, and we can use the keys to open up the chests to pick up whatever appears. That's fine and dandy and all, but then I realized, you know what, that might be problematic, because if every time I come to this room, I'm going to see those keys and chests in the same spot right there, I'm going to know that this is a pre-generated room. And that's not a bad idea because a lot of games are written that way, but I want to randomize it a little more. So we're going to take away all these keys and all these chests, and I created a new object, much like the other ones, the walls, called the green object. So instead of a key, you're going to see that we have here a green key. I also have a green coin, and I have some green chests. And you know what? I'll throw this in, which is the green ammunition. And there we go. Now these green chests are similar to the walls, in fact, because there's a chance that they will appear as real objects, or there's a chance that they will disappear. There's actually a 10% chance that these objects will turn into real objects. So we'll jump right into the game and take a look. And so far there's nothing there except for the coin, which is what about I'd expect. About one of those objects should turn into something real. Try again. Now we have a coin and we have a chest. And there's the coin again. And notice that because I spread it around, even though those are static in its placement, because they'll never move. If this key appears every time you get to this room, the key will always be right there and nowhere else. But that's okay because there's only a 10% chance for it to appear. And there's other objects, so it makes it look random, even though it's not. Well, it's random in the sense that it may appear. Now I can actually go here to the logic that I've written, if I can find it. I have a function designed specifically Here we go. Called change to real loot. It's currently set to 10%. So if I change this to a higher amount, so let's say, I don't know, 50%, and I'll run the game again. Now every time that loot box, the green loot box appears, there's going to be a 50% chance that it's going to turn into a real loot item for you to pick up. Then we'll take a look, and there, now we have so many more items that will appear because the probability has increased so high. Every time we go to the exit, it's going to appear, and again, there's a 50% chance that those will appear, and so forth. That's really great for me to test, just to make sure that it was working correctly. But right now, I really do want it at 10%, so that every time you go into a room, there's a 10% chance that you're going to get a key, some food, or a coin. There's also a modifier here that I put in to increase your chance of loot find. That's something I took from Diablo. I like how Magic Find works there. So there's a special potion that you can find. If you find that potion, it will indeed give you a better chance of finding magic items, or in this case, loot drops. We'll go ahead and remove these. Oh, I need my player here. We'll start them up here. So I'll place these loots around just like this. And we still want to show up here. Now, you would think that 10% chance sounds pretty high, but it's actually really not. With 3 items here, and the 10% chance for any of them to appear, actually we have 4 because we have 2 coins and we have a green chest here. It's actually that doesn't mean there's a 40% chance for an item to appear. It's just a 10% chance for each item. However, if you're playing along and every time you go to a room, there's 3 items at 10% chance, chances are you're going to find an item, which is exactly how I would want that to happen. I didn't want it too rare, but I didn't want it too common. I want you to be able to play the game and try to survive as long as possible with a chance that something might appear. Like, look, over here there's a coin, but is it really worth it to fight these monsters to go for the coin? I don't know. That's really up to the player, which is another intentional design choice. Make it so that they have to decide if it's worth going after the prize or not. And there, everything works exactly the way I would expect it to. Now, I also wanted some secrets, because my son asked for secret hiding places for things. So I created these breakable walls, which you'll see here. These breakable walls are great, because it takes a couple shots, and you'll be able to break them up, and I will show you the effect here. It does take 3 shots to blow them up, so I'm going to give myself another loot drop. Right here, some weapon loot drops. Now notice I have a green loot drop object and a pink one. These two differentiated because the green one, as you know, are probabilities. So the green one, this green coin and this green weapon, has a 10% chance to turn into a real item. If it's not green, in this case these are pink ones, it has a 100% chance to show up as an item. So here, I gave myself 2 weapons because some of the weapons are better than others, and I just want some randomization on that. So there we go. We've got here the shuriken, which works good. And we want this right here, the auto pellet. Now here, as I mentioned, these are actual breakable walls. Now I made them blink to represent that they can take damage and they can be destroyed. And that's very important because at first, the way I had it was you would shoot the walls and you wouldn't know that it was a breakable wall. And this was actually a disservice to the player. You want the player to recognize that there is something wrong with that wall, and if they happen to see it blink, that's when they're going to realize that it's a breakable wall. Now this is great because it allows you to do all sorts of things. For example, I can go ahead and block him in here and force him to go out. And we'll move some things around here. and I can force the player to shoot through these walls and try to get out. The other thing that I like to do is, let's go ahead and drop a couple keys right here. Now that we have the keys, I can put the blocks right on top of those keys. Those are not green keys, they're actual keys. And we can see how well this works. This way we can have hidden items in there, and who doesn't like a game that has hidden items in it? So here, first, I got a shotgun. I'll go ahead and shoot my way out. Let's pick up the shuriken. And here, if you're having to shoot around, and you, maybe I need to increase the power of that. Once you blow it up, and there you go. You have 3 keys that you have, and I can put real keys in, or I can put green keys in, so that there's a 10% chance. Typically, I like to do both. I like to create a big area and put like 1 real key in and a couple green keys or green potions, and so there's a chance that if you blow it up, you're going to get extra items, and the other chances, all you're going to find is a key. But that allows, again, more randomization. And that's about it. There we go. That is the completed level, and I would be okay with making this a permanent level because it's got just about what I need. Now, as for the monsters, I'm not worried about that because the higher level you get, the higher chance there's going to be harder monsters that will generate. And what I simply do is I take this, and if it hits the threshold, for the red one it's 100%, the blue one's 50%, then I will destroy this object and I will create a monster object using the instant create layer command and replace it with a monster, and they're all good to go. There you have it. That is how I create a room. Right now I've got 35 different random rooms to create, and oh, let me show you one more room that I created. I was thinking about Super Mario Brothers and how sometimes you can warp over to those special levels where you can get coins and things of that nature. So we'll go ahead and go to the room start, and then I will look at miscellaneous is where I keep all my markers, and here we have the standard exit marker, and I also have a special exit marker here. And let's go ahead and throw in a peep. The peeps are something I just developed earlier this week, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I was actually watching some old games to see how they work, and I was watching Robotron, and I noticed that in Robotron you had these civilians that you had to save. So I created these civilians that will randomly run around. They are not damaged by monsters or anything, and they'll stop prematurely to say help or something else that's more interesting. As you pick them up, you'll notice here on the left hand side that you will have a listing of how many peeps that you save. That's going to be important later on when you get to the store, and I haven't developed the store yet. Regardless, here's the normal exit that we go to, and to make it more interesting, you notice the spin rate here. I make sure that the spin rate increases as you get closer to give it a nice little effect to make things more interesting. This gold one here, the yellow / gold one, is also similar to this, except that it will take you to these special rooms where there's nothing but prizes. So in this case, you can go ahead and save these peeps if you'd like with the keys, or you can just take the keys and run away. Other times, you'll get into a room that's just full of potions, another one is full of weapons, and another one is full of gold. Again, it's much like the Super Mario Brothers where you get warp into the gold room. And these are special rooms specifically designed for you to get free stuff. I haven't determined yet when these portals will open. I kind of like how Diablo 3 handles it, where there is a gold goblin, and if you kill it, there's a chance that it spawns a gold exit. And that is something I may do, or I may just have it appear automatically with a 1% chance whenever you kill a monster. I haven't really decided that yet. And that's how that works. And then of course if I go to the exit, it's automatically programmed to go back to my demo room. Oh, and since we have this laser boom here, I'm also show you how this works. This laser boom, the alternate weapon fire, is the right click. Every time you right click somewhere, it lays down a pattern of explosive bullets. So you remember this over here it will just blow them all up. Boom, boom, boom. And I also added a new feature, and this new feature is called Call for Support. If you get to a store and you return X number of these peeps that I showed you earlier, you're going to get this little phone call for help. I based it off of the old Batman Spirit series, where it's an old telephone with a big old red button. And if you'd like, at any time, you can press the C button to call in for support. And here's what's going to happen when you press C. I'm pretty proud of that one. I might change that sprite to something else. I was thinking about a B-52 bomber, but I kind of like the Atari look right now. So there you have it. There's about all the things that I can show you. Some of the new stuff I put in, like blocks, and of course that call for support button. And that's how I do my room development. And that's something you should consider too. Even whether you're making a game like this or you're making a standard platformer like Mario or something, having these green blocks with a chance of it becoming a real block or a chance of it just disappearing makes the levels a little more interesting and unique. That's not necessarily something you want to do all the time, because if you're playing Super Mario Brothers, you want every level to be the same so that people can learn to beat those levels. However, here, since it's so randomized, I want things to look different every time they come in. This is indeed a roguelike game, so that is the best way for me to randomize these rooms, to give the player something fresh to get to every time. You come to the same room 3 or 4 times. Sometimes it's going to be harder, sometimes it's going to be easier, sometimes there's going to be lots of presents and loot available, sometimes there's not. That's just the way it is, and that's how I want it. And now there you go, and if you have any questions or comments, let me know.